Hey there, Regina Anley here, and it is time for Tips and Tricks Tuesday. This week, we're talking about AI research. Now, you may have gone out to maybe ChatGPT and did some research, asked it a question. Maybe you're going on vacation. Maybe, holiday weekend coming up and you're doing some planning and you needed to do some research. Or maybe you're writing a new lead magnet for your audience and you wanted to do some research and add some statistics or something to it. How did you do that? Do you remember in the past? Now, I remember in the way past when we didn't have the internet, we didn't have any of this stuff. It was, library, encyclopedias, that kind of thing, newspaper clippings. Do you remember microfiche? I remember sorting through microfiche page after page after page. That's how we used to do research. So if you're, we'll say, older than 40, chances are you kind of grew up tainted about what research is, and you're like, research is hard, because that's how we used to do it. It used to be really hard. With AI, it is super, super easy. The trick with AI is making sure that the research that you're doing is the right research and you're getting the right information. So today I want to give you 3 tips for doing your research on AI. And if you come back on Thursday for the AI Spotlight, I'm actually going to jump into Perplexity, which is, as far as I'm concerned, the #1 AI research tool out there. I'm going to jump into that on Thursday. So today, I'm going to start with what you can use if maybe you're using Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, you're using one of these other programs, one of these other apps to do your research. Perplexity is basically made for research. But if you're using one of the other ones, you want to make sure, #1, you're asking a specific question. So what does that mean? Instead of saying, well, what should I post about today? Why don't you say, what are the top 3 things that my audience is struggling with this week? You'll get a completely different answer. If you say, what should I post about this week? Whatever your tool knows about you, because I'm going to go under the assumption that you're using a tool already and it knows a little bit about you. So it maybe has some background about who you are, your business, who your audience is and that kind of thing. So it's going to be relevant, but is it needed? Is it the right stuff? The more specific you can be, the better the response is going to be. So say you're just going out and you're doing some research on email marketing. You say, tell me about email marketing. Trust me, you're going to get a laundry list. Email marketing is this. Here's where I started. Is be specific. Instead of saying, tell me about email marketing, what are the best email subject lines for coaches who are trying to re-engage cold subscribers? That's very specific. So when you think about what you're putting into your prompts, garbage in, garbage out, say it all the time, be specific about what you want. So that's #1, be specific. Second, and my most favorite, because this is where I have the most fun when I'm doing research, is don't stop at the first answer. It's going to spit something out at you. It's going to give you some info. And you're going to wow, that sounds good. And it may be generic. It may not be generic. But here's the thing. This is where you separate the people who are unique versus the everyday person who's out there using AI for research. This is how you stand out. You don't stop at that first answer. You keep going. So after it gives you a response, maybe you type in, can you go a little deeper on that? See what it gives you. It's going to give you more insight. Because the first answer it gives you is going to be the answer that you asked for. So depending on how specific you were in your prompt, what you asked for is what you get. It's AI. It's a robot. It's a tool. It's a program. It gives you what you asked for. So if you say, can you go deeper on that? Or maybe, what am I not thinking about here? So maybe you're doing some research for a pain point or a problem that your client has. You know what? Our brains, we think about stuff, and sometimes it doesn't always pop into your head right away. Sometimes you don't think about stuff. Sometimes you don't think to think about other stuff, if that makes sense. So what am I not thinking about here is a great follow-up question, because it'll come back and say, well, you could consider this angle, consider that angle, you can consider this, you can consider that. This is where you start getting the real gold in your research. Now, another way you can do that is you can say, give me an example, a real world example of how this works. So depending on what you put in, right? That's going to give you even deeper information. Now, my favorite one is, what's the other side of this topic? Or play devil's advocate for me here. I'll just say, play devil's advocate for me here, hit go, and it knows. And it starts giving me the entire 180 thought of whatever it is that I'm asking it. And believe me, there's a lot of gold in there, because it may be exactly what your client's thinking about, that you're looking to reach them on, but you're not using their words. And now this gives you their words so that now you can reach them better. So you see, each of those follow-up questions, it basically opens up more information. So AI gives you even more information so that it's clearer and more likely correct, because tip number 3 is always verify before you use it. Because here's the thing. AI learns from what people put into it. It learns from what it finds out on the internet, what it finds out in, we'll just call it for general purposes, the cloud. All of these servers that are living all over the world with all of this information, this is where AI is pulling the information from. That, and from users who are using it. So everything that's on the internet is not necessarily correct. So you do want to verify. I do a quote of the week every week. And one of the questions that I ask AI when it picks a quote, I say, here's my theme of the week. Help me out with some quote ideas. I find a quote that I like. And I said, verify this quote. Verify the quote. Verify it was said this way. Verify the author. Because sometimes it'll be, oh yeah, that person didn't say that. So you want to make sure you verify what it gives you for the research. So those are the 3 biggest tips that I have for you today on, in general, using AI for research. So ask specific questions, number 1. Number 2, don't stop at that first answer. Ask it some follow-up questions based on what it gave you for that first answer. And then last but not least, always, always, always verify whatever it is before you go use it in a lead magnet, a post, or wherever it is. You want to make sure that you're verifying. This is what makes Perplexity, for me, the number 1 tool for research, because Perplexity is grabbing all of the sources as well, so you can verify the source. So if you're doing some research, maybe for a paper, maybe for that lead magnet, maybe for some stats that you want to put on your website about your audience or about your industry or something like that, you want to make sure that they're accurate. So join me on Thursday where we do a hands-on demo, and I'm going to show you exactly how Perplexity does that for you and makes research so much easier than it was before. We're not in those days when we're opening, 20 tabs to figure out what we got and then going back and forth and opening this blog and opening this article and opening up this white paper and trying to find the right information. No. It is at your fingertips now with AI, as long as you know how to look for it. So that's what I've got for you this week. We'll hopefully see you on Thursday, and we'll see you next week right here on Tips and Tricks Tuesday. Bye for now.